Right, with our animation now retargeted, I just want to go back to our blueprint and check the progress so far. So here's our character, go to body, and we're going to add an animation asset and add all retargeted. There we go. So this is what we have so far. As you can see, the head is now moving with the body. We do have the poke through, but we're going to deal with that in a moment. And yeah, I'm reasonably happy with that. Let's look at the back. Yeah, so we've got some poke through. And that is fine. I think the head is the correct size for the body. Yep. One way to deal with poke through, you can actually just increase the size of the body slightly, maybe 1.1. And oh, it hasn't worked because I've already attached the head. Yeah, sometimes that can work. So I need to deal with the poke through, don't I? So first we will try to deal with it by editing the material of our face. So let's open up the material and see what we're working with. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay. I was just making sure I haven't edited this material yet, and I haven't. I want to uncheck all of these because we're not going to be animating our albedo. In fact, we can search for that. So there we go. So tick animated albedo and animated normals, and we want to uncheck those and hit save. That will obviously the MetaHumans come with that functionality, which is fantastic, but it's beyond the scope of what I want to deal with today. So we're only dealing with a level of detail 0. So let's go down to its parent material, which looks like another material instance. Yeah, it is. So down to the parent material of this, which is mhead baked. Click on the folder icon, go to the folder. I've already got version 2 here because obviously I've been trying out some of these concepts. Duplicate it, and we'll call this version 3. Okay, and in our material instance, let's just make sure we select version 3 and hit save. Right, and we can actually close that material instance and work with our top level one. Okay, and what we want to do is open up our version 3 mhead baked. Click on the result node and set to masked and hit save. This is going to take a while. It's going to recompile probably. Oh no, it hasn't. Fantastic. And then right click, choose texture sample parameter 2D, and name this opacity mask, and drag off from red into opacity mask. And in the details panel, I'm going to set the group to Joe Butsu so it's easy for me. Oops. So it is easy for me to find, to edit. Joe Butsu. There we go. And now obviously we're going to need an opacity mask. My original plan was to include one in the description, but I think it is a much better idea to teach you how to create your own opacity mask. So moving forward, you can deal with various situations. So we're going to do that. But what I can do is let you visualize what it is we're going to be creating. So I will do that now. So once that is compiled, we can go back to our material instance, and then if we search for Jobutsu, there we go. We now have an opacity mask parameter. Click enable, and I already have an opacity mask in my project, so opacity, and we will choose opacity mask 2 to emphasize my point. Hit save and go back to our character blueprint and let the shaders compile, and as you can see, it is cut off the bottom of her neck. Just as simple as that, working with it in the material. Now in our instance, obviously we need the neck to go further, and that is why we're going to create an opacity mask now. So all it is just a texture. Wherever it is black, you will not see that. Wherever it is white, that is what you see. So in order to create this, I am going to, inside our material instance, our face material instance, we're going to search for our color main and open it up in the folder. Here it is. Right click, asset actions, export, and we want to export it to a folder that we know where that folder is. In my case, that is tutorial Reich version 3, and we'll just keep it at the same name. Hit save. Now what we are going to do is open up a program. I'm using GIMP today. If you use Photoshop or whatever or whatever editing software you use for creating images, open that up now. Here I am inside GIMP, which is just a free image editing software. I have dragged in my texture, which is the MetaHumans face, and I've brung this in for a guide so we can see. So obviously the face is up here, and we've got his ears, and down here is our neck, and we want to and our chest, and we kind of want to, let me just see if I can pull up a brush to show you. We kind of want to cut off the bottom of this image. So I'm going to create a new layer to work with, and then set that to black. And yep, so what I'm going to do is kind of cut off the bottom here. Now, I'm sure there's a scientific way to approach this, but I do it by, I will edit it, I will go back to UnrealEngine, I will come back, I will edit it until I get it right. So I'm guessing at the moment, so I'm just going to cut off this bottom very roughly. This is just a rough version to see what I am working with, and I just want to cut off a little of the chest. I've probably done too much here, and then let me create another layer, and I will color that white. Yep, and then drag our black layer there, and then I want to export this, and we'll call this opacity mask tut. Export that. Then back inside UnrealEngine, I want to import. I actually have a folder created for opacity masks. There we go, and import that into the engine. Opacity mask tut. Then, if we find our opacity mask in our material instance, opacity mask tut, there it is, and hit save, and we go back, and so that is the opacity mask I've just created. And obviously it's not enough, it's cut off way too much. So again, just do that trial and error until you get the desired result. So I'm going to make one more change, and then we'll show you how to quickly import that in. So I'm going to set my brush to white. I wouldn't normally do with this with a brush, I would be more methodical, but I think it's better for the tutorial if I just do it this way. Right, I'm actually going to delete that there and start a new one. And set to black. And I just want to maybe, oops, turn off our white layer so I can see what I'm doing, and just cut off down here. I just want to get rid of the bottom of the chest. Maybe, and yep, enable our white layer, export again, and come back into the engine and find our opacity masked up. Right click, reimport with new source file, choose the file, and now as you can see it immediately does what we need. So I have already done this process. It took me a while, and I chose this opacity 5 in the end, I do believe. So let me set that in my material instance. Opacity 5. I think that's what it was. Let me just go back and have a look. Apparently not. So I do remember that I did find one that started to work for me. I will find that now and then I will get back to you. Okay, this is the one I went with. It doesn't look like I've cut off that much. And the reason for that is I'm now going to do another method, which is I'm going to take this body, I'm going to export it to Blender, and then I am going to sculpt these parts here and here, making them slightly larger so there is no poke through. So I'll do that now. Right, we take our Reich skeletal mesh here, and I want to right click and asset actions, export, and yep, I want to call this something different, so UE5, so I know it came from UE5. Hit save. Uncheck level of detail. Make sure export morph targets is selected. Collision's fine. There we go, and we export. Great. All right. Let's close this, and I don't need GIMP anymore. Okay, so what I need to do next is open FBX Autodesk FBX Converter X64, and I have this in another tutorial on the channel, and basically we're going to add our exported, let me pull over my window so you can see our exported FBX, this one here, and we're going to drag that into there, and then we're just going to hit convert, and it will create this folder here, FBX 2013, and inside we have a modified version of our FBX file. This is required so you do not lose the morph targets. So often when you transfer to Blender you will lose the morph targets. Doing this, it will keep them. There we go. So now what we need to do is open up Blender. Okay, inside Blender, I am using Blender 3.01, and let me enable my screencast keys for you so you can see the keys that I am pressing. Okay, great. Right, so I'm going to hit A and X and delete everything, and then I want to import my FBX. So I go to import FBX, and let me find this. There we go, found my folder, and go into the FBX 2013 folder, and here it is. In the settings, I want to use pre-post rotation, uncheck animation, in armature, leave everything unchecked, and then import. Our character is now imported into Blender. I hit Shift C to zoom into our character. There we go. Now in Unreal Engine if we go back and we open up our character, so we were having problems here and at the back here. So the first thing I want to do is work on the back part. So if I go to the back of our character and I select the mesh, you have to be careful with this because too much sculpting will affect the weight paint, and then you will have to go back in and do that. Obviously we don't want that, and so what I'm going to do is just hit the inflate icon, and I want quite a large radius for this, and then just around here I'm just clicking, and then let's look from the side to make sure we haven't gone too far. That's fine, and there we go. And I'm just inflating around there, trying not to spoil the shape. Okay, then we'll go to the front and zoom in again. And let me just go back to UnrealEngine. Okay. I'm going to go slightly higher on the sculpt at the back, around here. So like this. I'm just clicking, I'm trying to be as gentle as possible. There we go. And then if I look from the side, just to make sure I haven't given it a hunchback. No? Okay, fantastic. Right, go to the front and let's have a look at our character. So it's kind of right down there, isn't it? Okay, all right. So I'm going to sculpt around there and inflate like so. I just want to get all the way up to the shoulders and then down to there like that. Let's look from the side to make sure I haven't gone too far. I kind of have. I'm not the best at sculpting. And around the neckline here. Oops, I've gone a little bit too far. I just want to inflate around the neckline as well. And that's all I'm going to do. Let's go back to our layout mode. Right, what I want to do is select everything and export FBX. Go to our folder. I want to be here. Right. Select armature, mesh, other, selected objects. Scroll down. In geometry, choose face under smoothing, armature, uncheck add leaf bones, and unchecked baked animation. And I think that is it. I don't want to touch anything else. Okay, and export, and that will export now out of Blender. I suggest saving this file so you can come back at any time and work with it, which is what I'm going to do now. And now we can close Blender. Okay, back inside Unreal Engine 5, we're going to go to our content browser, click on our skeletal mesh, right click, reimport with new file, and we need to now import the file we just exported from Blender. I'm an idiot, I didn't name it correctly, and as a result, it's called Untitled FBX. So I'm going to open now, and that will re-import our skeletal mesh. Again, when you're in Blender, don't do what I did. Name the file correctly so you know what it is. Anyway, this is going to take a while to import, so I'll be back with you in a moment. Right, instantly there was a change there. I don't know if you saw that. So this is our re-imported sculpted skeletal mesh, and now when she's breathing, take a look, no poke through. Again, this can affect the weight paint, and so I wouldn't normally be quite as aggressive. And if you look, I've damaged the zipper here, and so that is something that you need to think about. Again, I am not the best at this kind of thing. Let's go to the back, and as you can see, the collar does look a little damaged, so I'd probably been a little bit more careful around the collar. But other than that, there's no poke through anymore. There we go. Let's go back. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I think that's absolutely fine. I do. It may be worth trying out creating another animation. So let me just duplicate this animation, this idle retargeted, and we'll call this version 2. And what I'm going to do is go in to our idle animation, and even though we haven't got a head on this, so it's going to be quite difficult, I'm going to find a neck, maybe even neck lower, and I'm going to rotate that maybe 45 degrees to see what happened. Oh, sorry, key and save, and now we have this animation. And if we go back to our character and select that animation, we've got the head forward. So let's look at the back. See, we have got poke through again. So obviously this is something, it's trial and error. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to get rid of this with sculpting, using material opacity. You could even use morph targets on your MetaHuman head, which you can create in Blender. I have a tutorial coming up about that very subject pretty shortly, I do believe, or at least in March sometime. But for now, I can't show you that because it's quite complicated. And yeah, so just try various methods to try and overcome this. I mean, her head is quite extreme looking down, but your animation might have a head looking down, might it? So yeah. What I have done is I just quickly went away and I edited our opacity mask again to just cut off more of the chest. And if we look, let me just click off our character from here, and there we go. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect, but there's less poke through. Now, I suppose you could just avoid extreme animation around the neck area. That could be one way to deal with it. And also you could position your camera to avoid that area. You get the general idea. Right, what I want to do now is just tidy up this character a little. I'm not happy with the quality of the skin and the materials, so let's do that. We need to adjust our character skin. I'm not happy with it at the minute, so let me just remove our animation. Right, so the skin kind of matches. It's close, but I want to show you something now, and I have to be careful with what I'm doing, so I'm going to have to blur the screen because I'm about to show a naked texture. So let me open up our texture. This is our body texture with parts blurred out, and I want to come up to MIP gen settings, and because we're at level of detail 0 and I'm just looking for the best quality, I'm going to set this to no MIP maps, and instantly the texture is sharper. And if we go back to our character, look at the skin on the stomach, it's just instantly better, and when a camera is looking at that, it will look a lot better. So I'm going to do the same for the arms. So we click on the arms and mip gen settings, no mip maps. This is very resource intensive, so use it sparingly if you've got limited resources. Let me just do some housekeeping here because I've got a lot of windows open at the minute. Right, so something else I noticed. If I zoom in, the nails are not painted. I want to do those now, so I go into fingernails, and the fantastic thing about the Daz plugin and the materials it creates, I can just simply go down to diffuse color, and I want to set those to a pink, maybe pink, and I think the roughness is fine on them. Yep. I possibly may just darken them slightly, like so. But you get the general impression. I just want to make them pink. And let's close that. And if you look at the hand look, since we changed those settings, the quality of the hand is a lot better. Right, so I think that's about it. I want to go to our face as well, and for some reason that's gone all smooth. I think it may be a bug with the engine. So let me find our texture for the face. Yep. Now we can do the same here, but I'm a little concerned about that because I'm already using quite a lot of resources. There we go. And what I want to do as well while we're here is I want to adjust our normals. So let's find our normal intensity. I just like to ramp it up a little, so when I'm zoomed in with the camera, it picks out the details in the face. We can't really see it here, but we will do later on during the cinematics. Compile and save. And with that, our character is done. We have animation for it. Again, if you need to know about retargeting, go back and look at the videos I've already produced to create animation for your character. Let's move on to our scene.